We're here in the bar today. Today the shelves get to go up. I just thought I'd let you guys, I'll just show you how I put these up by myself. Even an old guy like me can do it by himself. So one of the advantages to not putting that back in is, it's made it lighter. These are not that heavy. They may look a little rickety, but once this is anchored to the wall, I don't know if I show you guys here, this thing is solid. I mean, it ain't coming off. I mean, I've only had that screwed off on that upper cleat. You can see up here so many places, just where the studs are is where it's screwed off. Top and bottom, that's all that's anchoring this to the wall right here. So bottom cleat, I put this cleat underneath here instead of up on the shelf, just because with these shelf centered, the thickness, the dimension of that cleat up here, it would hit the engines would hit. So I could have put them on the shelf. I could have put it up on this shelf here and been all right, and it would have been similar to that. I got adequate clearance there. One of the advantages of the spacing I went for, just how I determined that what was a spacing that I felt comfortable with. If you notice these train masters here, there's less clearance between here and there. So your engines are going to vary a little bit, but even with this train here, the idea is I can just reach in here and get this off the shelf without jamming my fingers. So you don't want to be jamming your fingers up here, just reaching up here casually. I can reach up here on any engine to pull off without worried about jamming my fingers into the shelf. So I don't know if I would go much narrower than this. To me, that's something important if you don't want to be jamming your fingers on that. The other advantage, like I was telling you, these shelves, these trains are slid on and off. Staining and putting the polyurethane on, there is literally no scratching. I mean, if these shelves were painted, you're going to develop scratching eventually on here, just because these are something when you put on, you kind of stick them on the shelf and slide them. I could just push that back in place like that and slide it back, if you notice, and most any engine will find those slots. That's why I was telling you, want a little bit of play in those grooves, if you're going to do the grooves like that. And the grooves are kind of nice, keeps the engine positioned on the shelf, centered. And I find, this is a good depth. Nothing really hangs over, and nothing's going to hit the wall centering these engines in here. So I will go ahead and get this first shelf hung. I told you that I do this by myself without any help. Well, I kind of lied. I do have a couple of buddies. Here's my buddy Jed up there. That's Jed Clampett, everybody. And over here is Daryl Proppett. So what I do is I clamp this off to this side here, and it kind of holds this side in place for me after I get this up here. And then I just prop this up. This just an old shelf support I already had notched. It just conveniently worked to prop this in the shelf up so I can level it. Actually, this thing was built fortunately square enough that I just simply clamp this off and put the prop up there to hold it, and lo and behold, it's dead right on level. So it didn't take anything to level this. So I was kind of surprised that there's a little fudging you got to do. So that worked out good. And, I went down through each shelf, and each shelf are the same way. So that's always a good sign when you can just clamp that in place and just don't even level it or measure anything. That's a thing you guys probably notice. I'm not aware of, other than, this plumber strap. Once I laid out the table saw, that's the only place I've used a tape measure. Once all the cutting is done, my measuring's done. I don't really measure anything anymore except for, placement of the strap. And this strap, I was telling you, I painted it with that rusty metal primer. just because I didn't want that silver look. Here's a shelf that's already up. You can see I got 2 of those running down. That doesn't really bother me. I'd rather have the light surface background to give you some definition on the engines, you know. Like I said, putting a back in there would add a considerable weight. This shelf, 8 foot long by 4 foot, was pretty much something, you know, that was, I don't want to say it was at my limit to hang by myself, but because it's really just not that heavy. It's just a matter of hoisting that up. I kind of did use my buddy's shelf here too to set that up on. So I just kind of set it in place just to hold it in place, and then until I get these clamps on, and you know, put a spacer board under there to space that up correctly to get it in place. And then, you know, I can position this shelf, get it, you know, slid down in place to line up with the other shelf. Now you can see those measurements. You know, I really didn't pay any attention on these shelves that much. They may be a little bit off. I really didn't take the time on this shelving unit to do that spacing block. I probably should have. I don't know why. You know, I guess originally when I was doing this, I had 2 other shelving units already made that were 3 foot units. It just, like this one over here, it just wasn't enough. This was actually made out of some old shelving that was part of that shelving system I had over there in my other house. And I mean, these shelves were all actually, you know, 12-inch deep shells by 3 foot. So I've already had those shelving units, and so it's just a matter of cutting the lumber down to, you know, 3.5-inch width. And just try to repurpose this. I'll be able to use these shelves in another room. I will, so it's not like I'm, you know, abandoning these either. So I've got some other areas that, you know, closer to my train room. Like I said, this is my bar, and, you know, I've just amassed enough collection now. I've got to find some serious wall space. Well, this wall is like 21 foot. So, you know, it's adding quite a bit of shelving to do that 5-inch spacing at 4 foot. It still provides plenty of storage space, but you know, I just have enough terrain items. If you notice in here, these are all engines. I don't really have any shelving for any of the, you know, my passenger cars, which everybody knows how much room those take up. And so part of this is, you know, so I can put certain consists together passenger units and even stuff that's sold as a set. You know, I do have a Great American Railroad set, complete set, Santa Fe set that I would like to display all that together. And I do have one of the, I think I got the first of the Great American Railroads, and then I think I got the last of the Fallen Flags set. So I do have a complete freight set of both of those. And part of that, doing this shelving like that lets me spread that out. You know, 8 foot. Ideally, it'd be great if I could go the whole distances without any of these bulkheads in there. Would be ideal, but you know, it's just probably not a practical way of doing it. You know, I suppose if I could rely on that plumber strap of holding these shelving in position like that, I never really knew for sure if this was going to work. So far, it looks like it's holding up. So this right here, same way, you can see this isn't going to have any give in it right here in the middle. So that plumber strap is actually pretty solid. And like I say, once you screw this down to the wall, and I just screw the top and bottom. This thing is against the wall. It's solid. It ain't going anywhere. It's amazing how strong that is. So even though this looks kind of rickety, once that's screwed down, that is very rigid once it's in place. So that's another nice aspect of built this way. It's strong and light. So which is what I need for somebody like me who's trying to do this by himself. But we'll go ahead and get this shelf screwed down here. You're going to see that it's really not tough. Like I say, if you don't have an impact driver drill, it makes this go so much easier and smoother. a matter of getting up here and finding, I've already laid the studs out, so I already know where those are located, so we'll put this shelf up here just to make sure I'm staying on track. Like here's a stud here, so just that easy. That thing is pretty much in place now. Just that one screw. I do screw off, probably should have did that first. I do screw this this unit to this unit to give it some additional force, so they're all interconnected that way. And with them all screwed down like this thing really isn't going to go anywhere. You screw this thing down, it's just amazing how much it stiffens up. So this one here's fitting up there pretty snug, so I'm glad I didn't make that any longer. Okay. Well, it figures that the one you're going to show to put up is going to give you the hardest time. But there we go. There we go. That's turned out better. Saying it's got to come up more, but that's right on. That's supposed to be right on right there. Yeah. So. That's right. It's right between the bubble. So I think we'll just go ahead and anchor this one down. There's that. looking good. That's looking real good there. Okay. Here's that one. Well, you can see that I managed to get all those engines put up on the shelf and got the table cleared off, and that's great and all, but you can see I've got quite a bit of shelving now. I haven't even figured out how many linear feet that is, so I'll let you guys figure that out. That's 21 feet of wall, and then those shelves are there's 9 shelves on each row there, or each shelving unit. So that's quite a bit of linear feet, but I'm not sure where all these engines keep coming from. It seems like the more shelving I build, the more they multiply just as quickly. And before you know it, I feel like, well, I got to build some more shelves. And the unfortunate thing is I really don't have a lot of my Marks engines up on here. I've got quite a bit of Marks still in storage in boxes and stuff. You can see I got a little bit of Marks, those E7s down there, and then I got a few of the 1998 Marks engines. That section there, those are the only ones that are Marks. These other ones down here are K-line, off the Marks mold. That's why they look like a Marks, but and I collect them just because, well, they're based off the Marks mold, and Marks never made that version. But when I first started collecting those, apparently I was the only one that had that idea, and now everybody must have it, because the price of those engines have doubled from when I first started collecting them. So I kind of stopped now. There's a few that I kind of passed up. I'm having regrets on now. But this is something that, in case you were wondering just how much I have in this, I mean, really, it's really was pretty inexpensive. When I'd have to factor spreading the stain and the finish, the polyurethane. I'd have to, and the screws and that type of thing. I'd have to factor that over all 3 of these. But these boards were only $2.10 a piece. It took 11 boards, so there's like 23.10 there, or something like that for just the wood. So I got this wood pretty inexpensive. And it's something that, if you can tolerate, not having perfect wood, I kind of wanted the roughness of it. I didn't really care. You can see how I purposely stress that. That's not something you have to do if you don't like that. That's just me just messing around, thinking that, it would be good to kind of make this look kind of used. But, really, the stain, by the time you figured the stain and the screws and everything, even that, like that plumber strap was $4 for 10 foot. So, I got $2 wrapped up in the plumber strap, and a back for that would have been at least $13 plus, plus if you had to buy some paint to paint it, not to mention it's going to add weight. So to me, doing the plumber strap for me was the way to go now that I know that it worked. The reason I'm saying that, because I've had this 8-foot shelving unit up for about 7 months now, 8 months. And, so far there's no sagging occurring. I don't know how much longer that's going to keep up. Really, I think if it was going to do anything, it would have done it by now. So I know we'll see. But, each unit I built here that's 6'5", it's going to end up being just as much to build that as it is an 8-foot, because you're cutting all that waste off. So if you're going to do 8-foot or better, you'd want to probably do an 8-foot section and then figure out what you need. It's just like, for me, the reason I didn't do 2 8-foot sections here, because I would have had some like little 2-foot pieces on the end here. And really with that bulk in here, it just kind of, the more I thought about it, the more it would have just detracted from what I was how I would be able to put the engines on the shelf. So it made me determine that, I'm going to do 2 6'5" sections rather than 2 8-foot and then 2 2-foot sections or something like that. So, it's up to each individual's own taste on that. But, when you get all said and done on this, I probably have, I'm going to guess, less than $30 a shelving unit. You split it over all 3 of these. So, each section there, that's not counting my labor, of course. And it really didn't take that long to build this. I kind of went through and figured it up. I wasn't really trying to set any records on building this from start to finish. So, I did have an objective to keep and motivated to keep moving on it until I got it done. But, I wasn't trying to set any record or something, trying to get this knocked out. Saying that, I kind of will stick with something until I get it done. But this unit here, you probably have about 4 hours, and this is counting for both units. Milling all that out, probably about 4 hours to mill all that wood out. I mean, it goes really quick. It doesn't take that long to saw that stuff up. And the sanding, I didn't get carried away with the sanding either. I didn't take a lot of time. You seen on the video, that's about how much time I spent on each surface to sand each board. Some of it, I might have taken a little bit longer, but, approximately about that much time. But to sand all this out, I mean, you can figure about another 6 hours. So what do we got there? 10 hours for both units combined. So there's about 10. You're going to have another probably 2 hours a piece, so another 4 hours staining and painting it all. That goes pretty quick. And so there's 14 hours. Assembly was quick. It takes about 30 minutes to throw one of these together, just to screw it all together. It doesn't take any time at all. That's what I like about it, because there's nothing to measure. And you see how well it, how square and plumb it came out. So even though it's kind of rickety looking, if it's not mounted to the wall. So probably 30 minutes there. And then you've seen how long it takes to hang it. If there's nothing that you got to, prep for, take something down before you hang it, it's about another 30 minutes each one. I'm erring on the strong side of that. So, so there's another hour, 14, 15, 16, less than 20 hours to knock both of these shelving units out installed. So it really doesn't take that long. You just kind of have to be dedicated to seeing it through and getting it done. And, it's went really quick, and uh, when it's all said and done, I'm pleased with it. It turned out as good as I was imagining. So that's all that really matters to me. You may have your own thoughts on that, and that's fine. Like I said, I wanted something that wasn't going to be utilitarian down here. I wanted something that's going to be more, conducive to something to hang in my bar. So that's why I decided I wanted, some wood stained, painted, finished wood. Not only that, but, the other thing about putting them on these shelves, especially down here in the bar, they just don't seem to collect any dust. I don't know why. I guess because there's nobody down here. But, this basement stays pretty dust free anyway, fortunately. So that's another bonus thing. And then, you've got your engines in easy reach where you can just walk in here and look at them and select which one you want to take down and run. So that's a big bonus for me, just because until then I'm kind of searching around, scratching my head. I wonder where that engine is, and then you might even forget you have it. So it is kind of unfortunate I won't be able to be surprised anymore. But so it is kind of like living that experience all over again when you first open it up. But I just as soon know, I guess, that I have it on the shelf and right where it is when I want to run it. So to me, this is just going to make it so much handier. So hopefully you guys can, you guys want to, build your own, and you can find this useful. If not, at least I hope it was entertaining. So that's all I have for today's episode. So hopefully you enjoyed this series, and be sure and comment. Until then, I'll see you next time. Thanks.